half the world's population live in urban cities, and there's a gradual shift of human beings moving from rural to urban. In the next 30 years, it's projected that almost 2/3 of the world's population will be living in these cities. And cities have served not only as the economic drivers of countries, but also as a representation of the progress, values, and ideals of a nation. It is a showcase on how each nation is perceived by the world. New York represents the cultural diversity and economic power of the United States. Paris, the rich cultural influence of France. Japan, the technological advancement of the technical advancement of Japan. Singapore, the model city of the world. And lastly, Shanghai, the newfound prosperity of China and a new world order of globalization to follow. Countries are known for their cities, and economic progress is driven by how successful these cities are. And let me ask you here today, what is Metro Manila known for? Think about that, right? I am Singaporean, and I've come to love the Philippines for its beautiful beaches, warm and friendly people. Especially since my country, rich as it is ranked poorly in the world's happiness index. And that's because we complain about everything. All right, ask anyone, it's true. Unfortunately, I've yet to see the Philippines celebrated because of their cities on the global stage. But there is a consensus on what defines Metro Manila that everybody seems to be able to agree on. Any guesses? Traffic? Yes, traffic and congestion. The only contention here is who wins the prestigious title of having the worst traffic congestion in the world, right? We've always been fighting with Jakarta for that prestigious title, and for better or for worse, Waze has recently come out of a study to say that Manila is the definite winner of this prestigious title. Right? We beat Jakarta, we beat Bogota, and it takes an average of 5 minutes to get 1 kilometer in Metro Manila. Right? You're better off walking. Okay, so congestion has been defined very often by JICA as a 3.5 billion peso a day problem in the Philippines. In 16 years, this is going to be going up to more than 5 billion pesos every single day in 16 years. That's a lot of money, right? And this is all caused by congestion. In logistics, this becomes a nightmare because you want to deliver as many goods as possible in a day. And with the reality that we live in right now and the worsening traffic conditions, this becomes a bigger and bigger problem. But what I do want to talk about today is, and I know I'm supposed to talk about logistics, sorry, it's about how profound this problem of traffic is. Right? How traffic touches the lives of every single person here in this room today. So, can I ask, how long did it take you to come here today? An hour? That's pretty good. All right, and I saw actually a lot of people here got here really, really early because you didn't know how long it was going to take to get here, right? And how many more of you are not here yet because of traffic? At least that's what I think the empty seats are for. Right? So who here is from Metro Manila? Okay, so I see a lot of people. Do you realize how much of your life's decisions revolve around traffic and the state of traffic? All right, so I'll give you an example, right? For all the customers and logistics companies out there, how many times have you called an appliance store to check on, when will you get delivery for your item? Right, and very often the answer is, sorry po, I cannot commit a time. All right, your first thought is to get angry, right? Like, why can't you give me a time on what time you're gonna be here? But when you think about it, it's not a case of bad customer service or a bad business model. It's because of the congestion that plagues the metro that causes answers like this. All right, it affects our choices, it affects our freedom, it affects our mental health. When I first got here, I quickly realized that it was really hard for me to maintain friends who lived in a different city. I live in Makati, and it was really hard for me to regularly see someone who lives in the north. And I'm lucky enough to have a car and a driver. So what about the regular commuters, and what are his options? So here's another question for you. How many of you live in Alabang here? Please put up your hands. Okay, keep your hands up. All right, how many of you live in Quezon City or Valenzuela? Please keep your hands up. All right, don't be shy. Okay, so let me ask you, how many times in your life, or if this has ever happened, where you thought twice or even 3 times about dating someone who lived on the other side of Metro Manila, right? Please keep your hands up if this has happened to you, or you've decided not to date someone because they just live too far away, right? Wow. So that, guys, is a long-distance relationship. I used to date my husband in Singapore. That was 3.5 hours, so it's pretty much the same thing. So what about school? What about your career? Families are now forced to pick schools not based on merit, but because how far away it is to commute. I have a young son, and I've been searching for a good school for him to go to. And when I found a progressive school with a good principal, I was really excited. That was until I Googled where the school was. All right, it was in Ateneo, near Ateneo, and I live in Makati, so all right, forget it. Next. And the same goes with jobs. I was surprised when I was first interviewing for jobs for Angkas. People kept asking me, where is the office going to be? Where is the office going to be? And it only took me till later to realize why they were asking these questions. When we moved offices, I actually had people resign because now an unsustainable commute was forced upon them, and they didn't ask for it. I'm sure many of you, and not all of you here, know exactly what I'm talking about. So I like to share a heartbreaking but very real example of what a regular commuter goes through. And we had a customer that came forward during the first time we decided to suspend our transportation services. So this was a hearing at the LTFRB, and her name was Sam. So Sam lives in Antipolo, and she works in Ortigas Center. She wakes up at 4:30 every morning to go to work and try to get to work at 9 a.m. Sometimes she's late, she gets there at 9:30, and she gets deducted for tardiness. And then she leaves work at 6 p.m., and she gets back to Antipolo at 11 p.m. 11 p.m., 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. And she wakes up again at 4:30 in the morning, rinse, repeat. The problem that we have here is that she was a single mom. And, I consider her an OFW in her own city. And guys, I'm not talking about living in Mindanao and working in Manila. I'm talking about a distance of not more than 10 kilometers. And, you are an overseas Filipino worker in your own city, and somebody that, because of work, is not able to spend quality time, and in this case, almost any time with their family. And it's not happening in the United States. It's not happening in Dubai. It's happening in Antipolo if you work in Ortigas. So Sam willingly took time from a busy schedule to share her plight with the LTFRB. Because with Angkas, she could now cut her commute time by half and take that time to spend with her daughter. And for them to take that away from her would be unthinkable. And this is something that JICA or any other organization cannot put a peso value on. This goes beyond pure productivity and economic numbers, and it is unquantifiable. And I consider this an attack to every Filipino's right to a quality of life. So we've had a long journey in Angkas. Maybe you saw from the videos. We had a lot of run-ins with the government. In the beginning, I could not understand why. Because all we were doing was professionalizing an existing service, the habal-habal, which is a local term for motorcycle transportation. And habal-habal's been around for 20 years, some say 40 years. And what we were doing was to use technology to make it safer with background checks, training, and insurance. But later on, I realized it's not a case of us versus the government, but rather it was two different perspectives that we were coming from. We were both desperately trying to help the Metro Manila traffic problem while ensuring the safety of the commuters. It was not easy convincing the government that we were safe. We even had to run ads that were safer than condoms, which thankfully worked. And it shouldn't be, right? It shouldn't be easy to convince the government of a service like that. Offering a service to the public should not be done with ease. It should be going through the gauntlet. And the government should be skeptical when it comes to the welfare of its citizens. So just to share, there are 18 million motorcycles in this country, 1/8, versus 3 million cars. Right? If you live in Metro Manila, you may not realize this because 50% of all the cars in the entire Philippines are in Metro Manila, and therefore the EDSA congestion. An SWS survey conducted in 2018 showed that 1 out of 3 Filipino families own a motorcycle. Almost 99% of all of these ownerships are from low-income households, and half of them depend on their motorcycle for livelihood. Unfortunately, almost none of them go through proper training on how to ride a motorcycle. And many of them learn from tricycles, which has 3 wheels, so you don't need to learn to balance. Some learn on YouTube, some learn from their family members. Worst of all, some don't even learn. The first time they ride a motorcycle is when they buy it, rolling it out from the dealership. And it's a problem here is because motorcycles are sold very cheaply. For a down payment of 3,000 pesos, you can take a new bike home. And some don't even require a down payment. 0 down payment, please take the bike. It's a very competitive space out there. So this has become the first big purchase that many low-income households do because it's a stepping stone for the economic progress. But because we do not have the facilities to train them, the results are disastrous. 53% of all vehicular accidents are motorcycle-related. And 90% of these deaths are because of improper or no helmet usage. So guys, please always wear a helmet if you're going to be on a bike, kids. It's the #1 safety equipment, right? This was a disconnect. The statistics from the government were seeing how dangerous motorcycles were because of the lack of training. That did not connect the need and dependence of the masses to motorcycles for their economic development. In other words, regardless of how dangerous motorcycles were, as presented by the government, the people did not care. They will ride a motorcycle to get them to work. They will use a motorcycle to earn them a living. And this is called buwis buhay. Loosely translated, that means every day I will risk my life to make on a motorcycle, right? Just to support my family. And because of this, it bolstered our resolve, Angkas's resolve, to fix this disconnect, to bridge the gap between what the government thought and what the masses would be doing anyway, right? So when the government realized that Angkas was focused on safety, on training, when we showed that our safety record was 99.997%, that it's 0.0003% accident rate, they allowed us to operate. Angkas is an example of how the private sector and the government can provide a joint solution to some of our traffic woes. I know it's not a great solution for the long term, but this is something that we can start with. And I commend and thank Congress, the Senate, Secretary Dugade, and the DOTR for their vision in trusting Angkas. So our joint pilot has given back the freedom and quality of life to many, many commuters in the metro. And because of this, Sam, the single mother, can now finally spend time with her child. Because of this, 27,000 Angkas biker partners have been given livelihoods. And because of this, Angkas has now been able to empower people to give people back the time and freedom to make choices that you deserve to be able to make. Whether it's so a single mom does not have to choose between her income and her child, or whether it's because a biker can now choose to do work not only that's something that gives him meaning and joy, but to also support his family. All right, a full-time Angkas biker makes about 1,500 pesos a day. That is over 40,000 pesos a month. right? So this is something that's very meaningful to a lot of people. And I hope that we can continue this fruitful partnership with the government, because congestion is not just a Metro Manila problem. Congestion is a problem of all economically developing cities. We see this in Cebu, we see this in Bacolod, we see this in Davao, Batangas, and many, many more cities that are progressive now. So if we truly wish to capitalize on the growth of our nation, we must ensure that our cities have the room to grow by mitigating, if not completely preventing, congestion. Because this not only costs the government and its people potentially billions of pesos, more importantly, it robs its citizens of the quality of life that they deserve. Let Manila instead be known for its warm and fun-loving people. It is more fun in the Philippines after all, right? I can totally attest to that. In Anangkas, we've proven that if you take the time to train Filipinos, to give them proper tools, the right opportunity, they will learn, they will follow, and they will be productive citizens of our country. We are proud to be working with the government with this common goal to help the Filipino, and in the long run as well, we hope that the government can also come with more solutions for the traffic congestion. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas!